We'll talk about that.
It's dark down here. It's quite poor. Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Ian J. Cole. This is a channel all about music and art, and this is a series of videos that are about how to start a record label. Now, if this is the first time you've been here, check all the links down below because all of the videos are there, up to date. The subjects we've yet to cover are recording and mastering, advertising and promotion, merchandising and paying royalties. And in the next video, which will be in a couple of weeks' time, because these videos tend to go fortnightly, we'll start to look at the recording and mastering process. But actually what I'd like to do this week is I've just received an email from a chap who is based in Yorkshire, a rapper called Khryptic, and he is working his way through the videos, and he had some very specific questions, and I just thought it would be really good for me to read out Khryptic's message, and then we can briefly discuss the questions that he's got. It may be that some of it's already answered in some of the videos, but I'll point into the right areas. So Khryptic says, "Hi Ian, hope you are well. I'm watching your tutorials about setting up a label and I'm a bit confused now. Not necessarily with the information that you have provided, but with the options available to me and the next step. I'm completely new to all things post-mastering. My plan was to set up a record label, which I did for the best part to join a distro company." I don't think he means DistroKid, which is a distribution aggregator company, but so that he could join one of these companies. It's worth saying you actually don't need to set up a label to be with some of the distribution companies, but I'll come back to that. So my plan was to set up a record label, which I did for the best part to join a distro company who only deal with record labels, and then have my application rejected, and then have my application rejected for no clear reason. I am now in limbo and trying to figure out what I should proceed. Let's deal with that first. There's a lot of other questions. Right, so distribution companies, there's fundamentally two types. There are the type that will work with anybody. So you're not vetted, literally you don't have to be a record label. You could call yourself Bog Off Records and not do anything about starting up the business, but just give yourself a name so that you've got a label name to, which if you like would give you to some extent more credibility. The other type of distribution company are the type that vet you. They want to know that you are, I don't like the word legitimate, but they want to know that you have a stable of artists, you may have been going for quite a few years, that type of thing. Now, you know, I run a micro label. Sinners Music is a small label. I wouldn't go to any of those companies that are going to vet me, mainly because I've got nothing to hide, but who are they to vet me, really, when there are other options available to us? So I hope that sort of clears up that issue. I would tend to stay away from the companies that are only requiring you to be a record label, and they may even require you to be a limited company. I mean, we are a limited company, so we could go through that process if we wanted to, but to be fair, I don't want to. And I also am very cautious about other companies wanting to scrutinise my company. You know, I mean, it's bad enough when banks do that sort of thing. Anyway, so I hope that's cleared up that issue. You want to be looking for an aggregator stroke distribution company that actually will work with you as an artist or as a record label. Doesn't matter which, really. But they're not going to vet you in that sense. Right, what was the other questions? Can you please advise if you know of any distribution companies that deal solely with record labels? Yes, and in fact, you might not have got to it yet, Khryptic, but videos 6, 7 and 8 they don't cover all of the distribution companies because there's loads of them, but they cover a lot of the ones that are working in the UK. Some of those will work with artists and or labels. Some of them will only work with labels, and as I go through them, and I think it's mainly videos 7 and 8 where we get to that, because the first video is about companies that I already have experience with. So yeah, videos 7 and 8 I think are where the ones that you should probably scrutinise, and I will say when those companies, they're required to vet you really. So next question, who do I recommend as a distribution company? Right, I currently use a company out of Scotland, and they are called Emu Bands. They're covered in video 6. The reason for using Emu Bands is I did meet the guys at Emu Bands at a conference, a music conference in Newcastle a few years ago. I've been using them for quite a while now. There are pros and cons with, I'm sure, all distribution companies. Now, I don't like the distribution companies where they're actually going to be charging you an annual fee, mainly because the problem with an annual fee is that if you don't pay, usually if you don't pay the annual fee, you will lose the distribution of your catalogue. So you could have 10 or 15 albums on a particular distribution company. If you miss the deadline or you decide not to pay it this year, then all of those albums will no longer be available on the distribution on Spotify and Apple Music and people like that. So I'm against that. The good thing about Emu Band is it's a fixed fee. It's about £50 for an album, I think, currently, and that doesn't seem to have gone up over the last 2 or 3 years. You can do deals, and I have done deals where you block buy, I think 3 albums at a time, which you have to use within 2 years, that type of thing. And so it's a one-off fee, and that content will stay up there, providing Emu Band stay in business, really, and that's always the negative, if you know. But they're good guys. You are allocated a label manager, and my mind's changed over the last year, but and they will deal with any issues that you've got. And once you've decided on a forthcoming release, and you're uploading the tracks and the artwork and all that sort of stuff, they'll vet all that sort of stuff. And if the artwork isn't the right sort of size, they'll come back to you and say, oh, I need it in this sort of size, that sort of. So they deal with all that sort of stuff. They were very good. On one of my albums, I put up, I did a book for iTunes, which was a right faff, but they were absolutely brilliant in helping me get that content up there, really. I haven't done it since, to be honest. Emu Bands currently would be my recommendation. Now, the downside of using Emu Bands is they do not do anything with YouTube and social media in terms of artists or record labels getting paid. So I am currently I'm not looking to move from Emu Bands. What I'm looking for is maybe some sort of a publishing deal where I have a publisher who will collect my YouTube royalties, because that doesn't happen. Now, I think if you use people like DistroKid and CD Baby and people like that, they will collect the royalties from social media, and it's predominantly YouTube. If your track is played and say it's played 1,000 times, then you should start to get some revenue through from social media. And I mean, the other new guys on the block, TikTok, we're not seeing anything happening there in terms of artists getting paid yet, I don't think, although don't quote me on that. I would like to know that artists are getting paid for that, especially the small guys. I'm not so worried about the big record labels, because to be fair, they'll have lawyers ready to sue people if they're not getting their copyright and royalties sorted out. So, but it's the smaller guys like us, really, where we're not getting paid. I know that I'm not getting paid for the music that I use on my own videos on YouTube. So you know, there are issues about that, really. Next question. Is it better to release as a solo artist or through your own label? What's the benefit of each? Well, I would say if you have a label, then always put your music out through it. What tends to happen with Sinner's Music is that everything that I release as myself gets put through Sinner's Music, and also the artists that I work with, all of their releases get put through Sinners Music. I don't see the point in just releasing stuff without putting it through your own label if you've got a label. If you're just an artist and you want to put music out there and you're working with Emu Bands, and Emu Bands are one of the companies that will actually just work with everybody. So you register with them, you pay them, they will then release your single, album, whatever it is that you're putting out there. Give yourself a name. Dave's Records, Dave's Record Company or whatever. It doesn't matter what, I mean, in this case, Khryptic Records, if there isn't one already. The first thing I would do, and I think I did cover this in one of the really early videos, is I would do a quick Google search. Has that record label name been taken? If it's been taken, don't go anywhere near that. And we see this, people do this with bands actually. I played in a band called DC Blues, which is a blues band. Now, I joined the band a year ago. They've been going several years. There is another band in America called DC Blues. If somebody else has got the name, whether they've trademarked it or not, and I'm not going to get into all of that sort of business, but if there's another band out there with the name, then it becomes an issue. Classic example, Suede from the 90s. When Suede were launched over here in the UK, in America there was another band called Suede, and I think Suede had to change their name in America to London Suede. I think that's right. So it's always best to check a name. If you're putting music out, you don't have to do anything more than that if you're using somebody like Emu Band. So give it a name, and they'll ask you what, is it with a label or are you just putting it out as an artist? I would put it out as a label. That would always be my approach. Even if it's just yourself and you haven't got other artists, put it out as a label. You can always then grow the label if you really get behind this sort of stuff. And there's loads and loads of tiny labels like us out there, really. Next question. Have you ever created like a linear step-by-step sheet on how to release music in the UK through a label or without a label? No, is the answer. I haven't. Although it's something that I'm happy to consider. Now, here's an advert. I have just launched a Patreon page, and as part of the Patreon community that I'm hoping to build, literally I've launched it yesterday, so I have no patrons at the moment. There are 3 tiers. And at certain tiers you get certain things, as always with this sort of thing. I'll put the link down below so that you can have a look at it if anybody's really interested in that. But that's exactly the sort of content that I would release only to the Patreons, because they're supporting me and my journey through YouTube and the label and the radio show and all the other bits and pieces that I do. So I certainly think it's something I will consider. But it would always be part of the Patreon family, I think, really, if that makes sense. I'm always happy to answer sort of questions. Be great if you post them down below, or I'm happy to accept emails. If I accept emails, what usually happens is I will certainly respond. So Khryptic, you've probably already had an email by the time you see this, and I will say, because I want everybody else to be able to see this sort of stuff, it's in the particular video. So thanks very much for watching. I hope you found that useful, and I hope I answered your questions, Khryptic, and I hope other people might find those questions useful. And I will see you in the next video. Thanks very much for watching. Like, share, all of that usual sort of stuff, and I'll see you next time. Cheers. Bye bye.